Well, you know, if we can make it to where I look like I'm this somewhat,
That's who did it, I'm sure. Seems like I'm gonna be taller than that, yeah.
one way or another. I did not.
I've got 5 o'clock, so it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and that is in Keokuk, Iowa. I'll call the meeting to order. The lone thing on the workshop this afternoon is a discussion on Joyce Park, and I'll give you some information, and then we can go from there. A couple months ago, you'll remember that the Saddle Club came to the council and asked permission for an improvement project and got turned down. And at that time, I saw a need to work with the groups that are out at Joyce Park. Saddle Club, Keokuk Youth Soccer Association, mainly being the newer tenants, I guess. And of course, the school district has its ball fields, softball, baseball, and a hitting facility out there. But the impetus for getting together as a group was to have those groups be able to work on the master plan. A master plan had been developed for Joyce Park in about 2017. And just it had not gotten anywhere. 2017 was 9 years ago, and not a whole lot of progress had been made. After that master plan, the Saddle Club did a great job and got their facility going, and they've got a great facility out there, and they have made some wonderful improvements and are doing a lot of things out there. The youth soccer group signed a lease for property with the city, I think about 2 years ago. And they would like to make some progress. But things were kind of at a standstill. And I thought perhaps there was a way for me to help push things along. And as a city park, I thought I'd take that challenge. And so that group, city, schools, Saddle Club, and youth soccer have been meeting just for about a couple months. And recently, CERC had a grant application, and the group turned in a grant application. Teresa, who is out in the audience here, who is president, I believe is probably the right title for the Saddle Club, signed off on a grant application. Part of that master plan for the Joyce Park called for improvements at the Saddle Club, improvements for a soccer, and some improvements for the school ball fields. And we got an update, and so that goes back to 2017, and we got an update on that from the engineer, and the engineer provided estimates of costs. He didn't do engineering work, he provided estimates, and that gave this group the numbers they needed to be able to submit something for that CERC grant and ask for those funds. So that's kind of gives you the background on what's happening with, for lack of a better name, we've kind of called the Joyce Park Coordinating Committee. It's coordinating those groups. And one time during those meetings in the last couple months, it came up that, geez, the school district may be interested in taking over Joyce Park. And that came up as a kind of a throwaway line in one of the meetings. But we started doing a little investigating on that, and we have not really done a whole lot of investigating, but I've talked with a few people and have not been turned down. And so I think it would be worth the city's time to start a discussion with the school district and see if they have an interest in assuming Joyce Park. You know, it became rather apparent during budget negotiations this winter that the city has an awful lot of parks and probably too many parks. If you listen to our city administrator, you know, we may be living beyond our means in some ways, and this may be one of them. And so, you know, it looked to me like if there are city parks that would serve a better purpose somewhere else, that we may be better off as a city to turn those over. And Joyce Park may be a perfect example of that, in that truly there is not a city purpose for Joyce Park. I mean, it is a facility that serves the schools, and they've got a great softball field. My kid played softball out there for a number of years. They've got a great baseball field. I'm familiar with the people connected with that, and had a coach that worked for me for a while. And they put in a new hitting facility, and they have a wonderful facility out there. As I said, the Saddle Club has done a number of improvements out there and has a great facility, and they'd like to make more improvements. And I think the community would be well served with the youth soccer putting in a couple fields, which is what the master plan calls for. And the master plan also calls for like a walking track, a trail, which, you know, could serve a purpose of serving as a track for a course for the cross-country team for the schools, as well as being just a community trail. Joyce Park is about 54 acres. I mean, from the school district standpoint, you know, if I was a business person and I had an asset as nice as the school district's assets out there, I would want to have control over the surrounding area. And I think this would give the school district an opportunity to do that. And without a true city purpose, I mean, it serves the city as a whole, but, you know, not the city of Keokuk. So it seems to make some sense to me. So I guess what I was coming to the council tonight was to catch you up on what that coordinating committee has been doing, and to bring to you the possibility of continuing discussions with the school district and seeing if the school district has an interest. As part of that process, the idea was brought to the Public Works Committee about a week or two ago, and Public Works Committee discussed it, signed off on it, thought it was an okay idea, thought we ought to continue discussions, and I'll let Doug make a couple comments on that. And so as part of the process, that's been held, and I think the next part of the process is kind of to get a general consensus from the city council. We're not opposed to this. We don't think it's a bad idea. And then take the idea to the school board. So with that, I'll let Doug say anything he wants to say about what was discussed at the Public Works meeting, and then, you know, anybody else that has comments or questions or guidance if we continue this. If you have some thoughts on what we should be doing, I'd love to hear them. But with that, Doug, do you have anything?
I'd say part of the discussion came up, like Mark said something in our January budget session when we were looking at cutting cost. And one of the things we did cut was in our mowing, and with some temporary help and some other things that we were doing a little different. And the idea came up then about our park system. I think Jim had brought it up originally, talking about our parks and our needs and how we're going to support all the acreages that we have. And one of the things that come out of it was we spend about 1 day a week on average during mowing season at Joyce Park. I think it's a great facility. I think it's great for the community, but I don't see where it needs to be or has to be in the city's hands. I think that the Saddle Club would benefit by the school owning it. I think they could progress a little faster and do some things that they could do with the Jacksonship Township taking over the operations of fire control. It'd be out of the city's hands. It'd be out of the city ordinances. It'd be out of the city's responsibility. I think that one of the things we discussed was talking to the school board about taking over the mowing since they're the majority holder out there. Of course, it was donated to the city by the Joyce family when Hy-Vee added on and wanted the property. So it's a great asset for the community, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the hands of the city of Keokuk. I think it'd be better served and continue to serve the public with the school ownership of it.
Thanks for that reminder too. So as part of this, I did contact the Joyce family. Kathy Joyce talked to the kids. Kathy said there's no objection to, they don't really care whether the city owns it or the schools own it or whatever. They'd like it to remain named Joyce Park. And I don't know why any of that would change. And so, in fact, Kathy's son, Mark, thought that it probably was more appropriate with what's happening with the city and school finances and legislative mandates, that it probably was a better fit for the schools than cities. So the Joyce family at least made that comment too. So, and it does lie outside the city limits too. I guess that's another factor. So, I mean, it really is not inside the city limits. So.
It just, it puts us in a liability situation with public safety in an area that isn't in the city limits.
One other thing I guess I'd mention is that the Saddle Club and the Keokuk Youth Soccer do have 99-year leases on their pieces of property. So, if things change, if ownership changes, I'm sure that would have to be looked at, but I can't imagine that that would make any changes to those. But we do want to make sure that that's covered and handled appropriately if we move forward with it. So, what else can I answer for council members?
What I'm happy about is that the care that the city has taken care of the Joyce Park and moving it out there. But I know these three entities will uphold and the opportunities that they have now too, that we relinquish that over to them. There's more opportunity with the water, like Doug said, and I just believe it's a win-win for everybody.
Comments or questions?
I think if this is something that all parties, well, specifically the school, they're the biggest party in this deciding factor outside of the city. I think it's something that if all the parties were agreeable to and thought that it was a good idea, then I would not be opposed to it.
And there have been some preliminary discussions with some various school officials, but just preliminary. And, I saw a process that we needed to go through. And the first was having some discussions and seeing if it made any sense. And the second was bringing it to a city council committee. And the third was bringing it out of that committee and to the city council. And then the next step would be bringing it to the school board. If there are no objections, I would look to place it on the school board's agenda for August 17th. They have said they're open to doing that. And I'll call the school district, or I'll let our new activities director can pass that along. Would you introduce yourself? Just say hi. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Johnson. I'm the new activity director at Keokuk. Excited to be here. It's been a whirlwind 5 weeks, but we're really getting through things and gearing up for the school year, so it's gonna be good.
And I'm not even going to ask you about this because that would be unfair to you from where you stand, so I don't want to put you on the spot. I know Teresa doesn't mind being put on the spot. Teresa, do you have anything that you would add?
Just as you've already stated, that we just would like the current lease still honored, which it does state that in the lease, when they wrote the lease. When the city attorney wrote the lease, it does state that. So we would just like, to make sure the city and the schools, still honor that.
Yeah, and I'm sure the school district will have questions, and I'm sure that there are things that we're going to have to talk about and work out and iron out if the interest is even there. So that'll have to happen.
I'll be in at that meeting too, in case they have any questions for us.
And then if you don't know, Matt Meritz is also on that Keokuk Youth Soccer Group. And Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to say? Okay. Sometimes I get long-winded, but sometimes it does end up covering things, so. So the grant application that was made was done through the Keokuk Parks Foundation. It had to be done through a nonprofit 501c3. If it's we applied for a phase 1, which would take care of the extending the water line to the back of the property. If that gets funded, that would happen. The plan is really kind of 4 different phases over the years, and that would move forward, and hopefully that it gets funded through that 501c3, and all those improvements get made, and the master plan becomes a reality out there. Expanded Joyce Park could provide, but it's going to happen through that 501c3 being funded. So, geez, guys, this is way too easy.
We want to make sure that the Saddle Club and the school get together and make sure that they're all on the same page about what's going to happen and that it's agreeable to both groups. Can't just say we're going to turn it over to the school and then the Saddle Club be out. So I don't think there's any problem, but we definitely want that out in the front.
The good thing about what's been happening over the last couple of months with what we've called the coordinating committee is we've had the Saddle Club, the soccer club, the schools, and the city all in the same room, making plans for this and trying to move it ahead for the benefit of Keokuk. So I think everybody's in agreement with what we're putting out here. But again, it's we'll make the offer to the school district, but it'll be up to them. And, they'll have to see the benefit to it. I think there is a big benefit to it, but that'll be a decision they'll have to make. All right, if that's it, nothing else on that? Nobody else? Going once, going twice, going 3 times? I'll close the workshop.
Got 12 minutes. Wow.
Well, they have the Boy Scouts here. Get that.
If they're all here.
Are you giving this one or are you keeping it? I'll give them.
Historic preservation committee thing.
Maybe, yeah.
They did that. They did a meeting last week. I did not even go to that at that library. They're they're working on a final report, but I didn't even see what came out of that or what they had in that. Let me go get that. I read the article, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I wasn't reading it for that. I didn't think it.
They're waiting for one of us. We'll take the picture at 5. Come on in. Thank you. This 5 collection numbers. Okay, good. Because actually, after I said that, it's like. Well, I was still.
Good job.
You didn't have any thoughts on that?
Makes budget a little easier, don't you? Refocus.
I just don't remember saying, I wasn't really paying attention to that. Information on the presentation.
That is huge.
That's what I do. So I'll have my notes, then I'll start rambling, then I forget what I'm doing. Yeah, sometimes. You did a good job. You did most of it. I didn't have to say too much. Just back you up. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Final report will be coming out for the planning. Carly said she would like to have that available, that final report, but there will be a copy available. I don't think that's come out though. They haven't done the final report. Did you see something? Did you see something else other than that? Yeah, go ahead and look, or if you, that's.
Any way we can develop that?
Made a change to it to where.
Thank you for your discussion. I didn't know whatever happened. They really wanted it.
Yep.
We're using it. That's one thing. We're using it. That's what
Everybody wants to. It can be done.
Exactly.
Taking care of your vehicle out there the other day.
See you later. No, you're, I think it's great. It takes the barrier off.
Yep.
Keeps us out of their business. I like it.
Uh-huh. Yep. So I know that Pam has had some involvement with this.
I know 54 acres is a lot. we should charge them for it. We'd be nice to give it to them. I think.
Okay.
Great. But they can develop it. We can still be part of it if we need to be for grants. That's great. Yeah, we're still going to be involved with if we get the grant. So I think we'll have a little say in it, which for the trails and all that stuff. But if they could help with the soccer
you did a
field,
nice
get
job.
all that going,
That's happy.
it's all school district, right? One way or another.
Do you want to address
And we're spending
oh,
we're spending
shoot.
1 day a week.
One thing I didn't hand out, I should have. I was going to
Must not
address.
be, because it keeps talking about, so who's that?
I talked about.
Yeah, I know Mark's talked about it, but I really never knew who they were. I think they would be, wouldn't you? You think it'd be a school program?
I lost track of what I was going to say. I want to get the letter of the Hand Park Commission.
Oh, gotcha. And they're the ones that they're using the YMCA right now?
Make copies.
Because that's where my grandkids all go. They must just want their own fields.
Okay. I'm just gonna get the
Well,
letter
it's
so that
It's already got the
it's
parking and everything out there. Concession stand.
You're still one person short, right? I was trying to count heads and I thought there was the same number.
It evolves.
We'll give them, it's 5 till, so we'll give them 3 minutes a day.
More people, I think. More Boy Scouts.
Let's give it a shot. Looky here. Which scout said he'd be here at 5:27?
More 2 pages. I just keep 75. It's probably not.
How are you? Good. Come on up, guys.
Yeah.
We have a proclamation for the Boy Scouts. Take a photo over here. I'll read the proclamation. Not you guys? Come on. Everybody wants to see Mike.
That's the star of the show.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Who gets the proclamation? You're gonna take the proclamation, or you want one of these young men to?
Give it to
Jesus.
Give us that note right there.
Don't speak up. Hi, I'm Mark.
Yes.
I am good, sir. We will read the proclamation during the actual meeting, but we were gonna take the photo now, so Joe, how do you want us? Come here. You stand
Kind of out of the left turn.
right here. There you go. Well, I'm gonna hand that to you. And then you're gonna look at him.
All right, we're all ready? All right, should be good.
There you go. That's yours to have and hold. All right, thank you. It is 5:30 PM. We'll call the meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Celeste, would you call the roll, please?
Marshall,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Mahoney. Here. Matlick.
Here.
Dade,
Here.
Andrews.
Here.
Van Berkom.
Here.
Bryant,
Here.
Greenwald,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. And for the mayor's report tonight, I'm going to start with a proclamation for the Boy Scouts. The proclamation reads, whereas the city of Keokuk, Iowa desires to recognize Scouting America, and whereas we further desire to recognize the 100th anniversary of Camp Eastman from May 21, 1926 to May 21, 2026, and whereas Camp Eastman has significantly contributed to the development of thousands of area youth and adults and created outdoor experiences, leadership training skills, and memorable events and activities. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Keokuk, Iowa, do hereby celebrate the 100th anniversary of Camp Eastman and support and encourage all who have ever been there to return for an all-day reunion and celebration on August 29, 2026, to view the many improvements made to Camp Eastman and to see what a very special place it has become for so many. Signed and sealed this 6th day of August 2026, signed by Mark Smith, Mayor. Thank you, and we wish you the best in celebrating your anniversary. Would you like to introduce your youths and leaders? Step up to the microphone here and right here, and then just give us a list of who's here.
All right. I'm Robert Heeman. I'm the Scoutmaster with Troop 43 out of Keokuk. I've been Scoutmaster here for probably the last 3 or 4 years. I've been involved with the unit for probably the last 15 or 16. But I've actually been involved with Scouting probably the last 20 at least. Tonight I have with me Mike Crable, who's a lifelong Scouter, Rick Fry, and the youth I have is Dante Patch, Chase Heeman, which is one of my sons, who is also my third son, which is complete as Eagle. And I have Simon and Sammy Gordon. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing. I spent time in the Scouts as a young person, and it was very worthwhile. So I hope you get some great experiences out of it, guys. Also, on the mayor's report, I was asked, Mike Greenslaw, the director of the United Way, asked me to make a plug for the Back to School community event, more commonly known as the Backpack Program. That's going to be tomorrow night from 4 to 7 p.m. and they have a new location down at the Keokuk Mall, so the Keokuk Center. It's in the old Gordman store. So anyone who knows someone who would benefit from that or who would like to participate, tomorrow night is the time to go down and take part in the backpack program. The other thing, Bill Smith has asked me to make a brief announcement for Iowa 2x4s for Hope. They have received a private donation of land that will be the first site for the tiny home, and the group has raised more than $80,000 for the effort in Keokuk. The organization is seeking experienced contractors who can lead volunteers through specific phases of construction and help ensure each home is built safely, efficiently, and with quality workmanship. It's a great program. If you can support that, you can follow the group Iowa 2x4s for Hope on Facebook. And the contact is Stephanie Warner, and Stephanie's phone number is 757-717-1838 if you need more information. And then one last plug I'll make. Lee County Economic Development Group was spearheading a Lee County Housing Needs Assessment. That housing needs assessment will be released on Monday at 9 a.m. here at City Hall. I'd encourage everyone, if council members can make it, it would be great to attend. The city does have funds that support that, and as I think we would most likely all agree that housing, improving it, and improving housing in Keokuk is a major need. So 9 a.m. City Hall, the release of the housing study. So that is everything that is on my report. Brings us to citizens' comments. Is there anyone tonight who would like to address the city council who's not on a later agenda? Going once, going twice. All right. That brings us to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda tonight are minutes of the regular council meeting of July 16th, 2026, minutes of the civil service meeting of July 29th, 2026, and a certified list for the Keokuk Fire Department. Consider a resolution setting a public hearing on a request for a permanent encroachment permit at 19 North 7th Street. Resolution approving a liquor license for the Courtyard on Blondo, 629 Blondo Street. Suite 203 Class C retail alcohol license effective August 7th. Resolution approving a liquor license for Lake Cooper Foundation, Big Dam Street Festival, 8 North Water Street, Class C retail alcohol license, 5-day term effective September 23 to 27. Resolution approving a liquor license for Casa Leon, 300 Main Street, Suite 700, Class C retail alcohol license effective immediately pending DRAM insurance. Special event permit for Brian Job, Rockin' on the River Festival, Saturday, August 22, 2026, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. at the Rand Park Pavilion. A special event permit for Lake Cooper Foundation, the Big Dam Street Festival, Thursday, September 24 to 26, Victory Park, serving alcohol, contingent on receiving proof of insurance. The appointment of John White to the Historic Preservation Commission, fulfilling a term to expire September 1, 2028, and a motion to pay bills and transfers listed in register numbers 5554 to 5556. We need a motion to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to item 7. Now's the time and place for a public hearing on the submission of a CDBG application for Timea Street Sewer Separation Project for the city of Keokuk, Iowa. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on July 25th, 2026. I am opening the public hearing at 5:39 p.m. Comments on the public hearing?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Ramus, Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission. I am here for the public hearing on the Keokuk Timea Street Combined Sewer Separation Application. The need and purpose of this project is the need of the city of Keokuk to separate its storm sewer infrastructure from the existing sanitary system to reduce sewer overflows in their downstream treatment plant to comply with the EPA administrative consent order, which requires removal of the CSOs throughout the sanitary system by 2030. The date of the application is due September 1st, 2026. SERPC will submit the application prior to the deadline. The proposed activities will be funded, the Community Development Block Grant CBG program funds, and the amount of $500,000 through the Iowa Economic Development Authority, along with $1.2 million in loan forgiveness through the State Revolving Loan Fund. The City of Keokuk will also request $1 million from the Wastewater and Drinking Water Treatment Financial Program, known as WTFAP. That application is due in November, and I plan to apply on behalf of the city for that. The remainder of the project will be paid with funds received from the State Revolving Loan Fund. 51% of the grant funds will benefit the low to moderate income persons in the area where the project is located. The City of Keokuk currently is 61.9% low to moderate income, according to the 2016-2020 American Census Survey. The location of the proposed activity. The project will take place on Tamiya Street from 7th and 22nd Street and along Paline Street between South 14th Street and along South 13th Street between Paline Street and a storm sewer outlet located in Kaiser Park. Also included in the project sewer separation area is 14th Street between Tamiya Street and Paline Street. Roadway reconstruction along 22nd Street between Tamiya Street and Bank Street. Plans to minimize the displacement and assist those affected. I do not plan to have any impact on persons or businesses. No one will be impacted on. That's just a direct roadway. Is there any questions regarding the actual application that's due September 1st?
I had a question just on the the qualification for the LMI.
Mhm.
What is the cutoff? Or
It's 51%.
51%.
Yep, 51%.
So we're well above
Yep,
that.
61.9. No survey was needed. According to 2016 to 2020 census data, the city of Keokuk was already above the LMI data.
And the WTFP, what do you think the likelihood is on that?
So they just increased it from $500 to $1 million per application. In the past, they funded about 8. It's based on a scoring criteria of so it'd be your social economic score. So we would use 61.9%. And I'd also do another table. Essentially, they break down your scoring criteria essentially to the loan forgiveness application. You guys scored 19 on
Yeah,
that.
19 out of 20.
So we use that data. So the highest score you could score is 20. I believe the city of Keokuk was 19.
Yep.
So we use that information. IDNR goes with SREF. They kind of join together to score the applications. There's 8 scoring criteria. Most of it's based on a community's income and need for the project. With this being a $7.2 million project, you would score higher.
Okay.
So.
And then where does the water systems project fit in with this? And then are you doing some of the same efforts with them?
We are not doing the CDBG efforts with them because they also received loan forgiveness because they scored on a 19 also. That project is a lower level project. So if they apply for CDBG, BABA compliance would
lose
kick in,
part of
they
that.
would lose. Yeah. So essentially the project would increase their project more than 500,000 and it would not be worth
Okay.
them
Okay.
applying. So they're going to use, the plan for them is the loan forgiveness to pay their entire portion of the project.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, we were eligible $1.2 million
Yes.
based off, as long as we spend that much on storm sewer
Yep.
cost.
And since the reconstruction is built into it, we would have the total project is 7.2 million. So you would receive the full 1.2.
Yep. So we did really well. How much is water getting?
They
you know?
receive the full amount. So they'll pay for everything. Their estimated project is 691.
So they'll get the full
They'll get the
project done
full,
essentially for
yes.
free.
Mhm.
Pretty good deal.
It is a pretty
Thank
good
you.
deal. Another part of the application for the public hearing for the applications, I have to do a community development housing needs assessment. So I'm going to discuss with you kind of the needs of the community. I really do need the council and public to participate in it. What I'll go through, and I have some ideas too, just things that will benefit individuals who are low income in the community and things that benefit people who are non-low income. So essentially it's just based on what Keokuk needs. I can start too if you want me to. So a little background from the 2024 census report, Keokuk's population is 9,662. The median household income is 52,711, and the median value of an owner-occupied housing unit is 104,300. One of my highest needs for Keokuk is affordable housing for LMI and just housing in general. So we're talking about senior citizens, but also the higher income individuals trying to move to Keokuk and have housing. Would everyone agree that that is a?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, that's written in the housing needs study that,
Yep.
I mean, that it won't be seen by the public until next week.
Yep, that's okay.
I think,
Yep.
I assume you've already
I
seen
have to,
that.
yep. It's a little bit different than, I can incorporate that in our application, but it is something a little bit different than the housing needs assessment that I have
But yeah,
to.
it squares with all the data that they gained
Yep.
too.
Another is affordable childcare, would be another option for LMI and non-LMI individuals. I have that there is currently only 5 licensed centers in Keokuk and 4 registered child development homes, and there's a need for second shift and third shift childcare.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Of course, the need for the sewer separation as the city of Keokuk is on a consent order. So that is a high, in my opinion. I have that to remove lead service lines. I know that's something that the water department's working on also. And that does have a deadline too.
And it's one that I haven't brought up with the council but it is a topic, there's federal funds available
There is.
to go
It's a
towards
50-50
lead line
It's a
replacement.
50-50
And I
match,
think
yes.
that they're doing something there makes a lot of sense. And I don't know how much the water department is really wanting to move forward on something like that. But I think there's value if the city were to put some money into incentivizing people to take advantage of it when they can get 50% of the cost of their home lead line paid for by the federal
Yes.
government, the
I did
replacement.
calculate for the water department how much it would be an estimate cost of it, and then how much they could receive in loan funds, and I can send that information
Yeah.
to you too.
But it's something I think that we should be looking at as potentially participating in long term.
I do have reduced nuisances in buildings, so to improve neighborhoods and blighted housing. I know you guys have been working on that, but that's something that's a need just to kind of reduce the blighted homes in the community and demolish those. Attract new businesses and industries to Keokuk, always a need. I discussed downtown revitalization, streetscapes to bring more businesses in. Does anyone have a list that I don't? Any needs that you can think of for the community? I know there's.
I mean, like when I did just a list of things that I want to make sure that the council is addressing in the goal setting session, you've listed a lot of what was mentioned, but our street replacement program, we're so far behind on street replacement. I don't know how much it really fits within your
Nope, it's still a
battery,
need,
but-
yep. And I do have improved streets. I don't think it considers really LMI individuals, but maybe non-LMI individuals. So I do have improved streets. High quality housing for senior citizens. I know that was mentioned in the original Lee County housing study. There was not very many houses for active adults, senior housing units. That is not enough market rate to owner occupied housing. Yeah, and I will just touch kind of regarding the housing, just because I would say it's a high priority. It does look like that the city of Keokuk has 5,003 housing units. Of those units, 87% are occupied and 13% are vacant. Of those 87 that are occupied, 64% are owner occupied and 36% are actually renter occupied.
And again, I think that for the region, it matches pretty close to what most of the other communities are.
Yes,
That
it's
split.
slightly higher, but yes.
The one that we are probably higher on is that vacant property. And
Yep. And then just for new housing, according to our last comp plan, only 4% of the homes in Keokuk were built in 2010 or later. So the need for new housing development. Okay. What do you guys think that the highest need in Keokuk is?
Certainly, housing and dilapidated housing is among them.
Something that I've seen has been how the combination of housing, quality housing options and job opportunities
Yeah.
go hand in hand. And getting someone to look at a company looking to locate somewhere that the one without the other, it just doesn't work.
Thank you.
Do you think that childcare falls in like a medium, high, or low need for Keokuk?
Aye.
How about street improvements?
Aye.
Sewer separations?
Aye. The EPA tells us so.
I know. How about, I think almost everything, lead service lines.
I don't,
Yeah, do they score high, medium, or low? High.
I don't know that it's become a forefront of people here. It hasn't been one I've heard people talk about a lot in the community, but from behind the scenes and seeing what the impacts are. I mean, the reason the federal government's willing to fund 50% of the cost of replacement is because of what happened in Flint, Michigan. And the risk that is out there is huge.
$5,003 housing units in the city of Keokuk, yes. Transportation, do you think transportation scores high, medium, or low, the need for transportation?
Medium.
Medium. Do you have any other services besides C-Bus?
Taxi.
The need to attract new small businesses and industries to Keokuk?
Aye.
Downtown revitalization or streetscapes? Downtown improvements, facade improvements?
Aye.
High. Okay. Does anyone else, any other need for the city of Keokuk?
Hospital.
How much time you got?
You currently have a clinic, correct? Is it? Good.
We're in the process of working with people for, just a standalone emergency.
Rural emergency hospital.
Do you think that's a high need?
Yes.
Yes.
How about parks and rec? Any parks, any need for trails or more parks? Do you think that's a high, medium, or low need?
Medium.
Medium.
I would say enhancing some of your main core parks is very high. And I think that's part of where you hear a little bit of variance in there is that I think we have an adequate number. It's more about making sure we enhance what we have.
When you score them compared to other things that Keokuk needs, would you score them still as high or lower? Compared to housing, childcare,
It can't fall
street
behind.
improvements?
So I'd say medium.
Medium.
I hate talking too much because I'm not the one that's.
That is all I need to complete my public hearing. So I will gather my minutes and send to you, Celeste,
Right.
and I will work on the application for the CDBG application.
And is there any concerns about being able to get this completed? I know
I did send an email back to the engineer, and I'm waiting for an email back just to confirm. The last correspondence was that they were going to have the plans ready and the DNR permit submitted.
okay. Okay.
We did
Thank you.
discuss that. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments on the CDBG application? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 5:53 PM. That brings us to the next item, which is to consider a resolution supporting the City of Keokuk grant application for community development block grant funds for the Timea Street Sewer Separation Project. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to number 8, a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Keokuk, Iowa by modifying provisions of Ordinance 2017, the City of Keokuk Natural Gas Franchise relating to franchise fees. Need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Need a roll call. Well, it's first discussion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, Celeste.
Marshall. Walker.
Aye.
Mahoney. Aye. Matlick.
Aye.
Dade.
Aye.
Andrews.
Aye.
Van Berkom.
Aye.
Bryant.
Aye.
Greenwald.
Aye.
All ayes.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the third reading.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we need a roll call to approve this.
Marshall. Walker.
Aye.
Mahoney. Aye. Matlick.
Aye.
Dade.
Aye.
Andrews.
Aye.
Van Berkom.
Aye.
Bryant.
Aye.
Greenwald.
Aye.
All ayes.
That passes. On to number 9. Oh, sorry. We need a motion to adopt and give final approval of the ordinance then. So we need a motion and a second to adopt and give final approval.
So moved.
Moved, second, I heard down here. Roger, Mike, Roger. Comments? Hearing none, roll call to approve.
Marshall. Walker.
Aye.
Mahoney. Aye. Matlick.
Aye.
Dade.
Aye.
Andrews.
Aye.
Van Berkom.
Aye.
Bryant.
Aye.
Greenwald.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now to number 9, consider a resolution authorizing Skylar Weilendick a wage increase, and I'm sure I did not say that name right, a wage increase at the WRRF. Need a motion and a second.
Second.
Discussion. Correct my pronunciation.
Wellandish. Wasn't too bad. Our lab is required to have a certified chemist on staff, and our chemist David has been there for a long time, and he's looking towards retirement. And Skylar's been working down there part-time since he graduated from high school. And he's majoring in chemistry at Iowa State, and with one more year left to complete that degree. And we're really hoping that he stays around and becomes our chemist. And I would really like for him to have a wage increase like other city employees. And then I want him to feel that he's welcome and that he's needed, and we appreciate him.
So what you're looking is to do the same wage increase that our non-union personnel receive for this fiscal year.
Correct.
His position was left out of that wage increase.
Correct. The bargaining unit got 4%, and non-union employees get 3%, and that's what we're looking for is 3%. 3.
Other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Skylar, my apologies for the pronunciation. Brings us to number 10, consider a resolution authorizing the approval of a service agreement with GPM of Omaha, Nebraska for the maintenance and repair of the city's first flush study equipment. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
As part of the first flush study, we have a lot of equipment that we purchased from GPM. It's all ISCO samplers and meters, and they're highly technical and very sensitive and need a lot of maintenance so far. And rather than having GPM come down as needed, I think would benefit the city to set up a service agreement where they come down a set number of times and not just only as they're needed. In fact, there was a fellow from GPM down today at 3rd and Des Moines working on the meter to get it reading correctly.
These, the meters that we've had with the first flush study, we're about supposed to be a good year into that program.
We should be, and we're not there yet. It's taken, there's been a lot of glitches. A lot of things come up, and we're open to start that. I'd like to start within a couple months. We'll see, and we're going to have to address some personnel issues and who's going to be responsible for what. Collecting samples possibly on weekends, maybe in the middle of the night, and then also running those samples for bacteria content. Mostly is probably what we're going to test for. And so who's going to be responsible for that? And we're hoping to be able to divide those duties up, and we'll see.
Part of the issues we've had has been the devices not working consistently.
Yes.
And we have dealt with them on a reactive basis. And Tom's bringing this forward with the idea of trying to be a little bit more proactive so we can get better, more consistent data. The first flush study, we're supposed to be done with that in 2 years. We're behind. And the concern is that if we don't get enough good data, we're going to be in some significant issues with the EPA as that time frame comes to an end.
Jim, give us the one sentence explanation of the first flush.
First flush. So you're asking the non-sewer person to do this, but
Definitely.
But part of what the city has looked at is the amount of cost to have complete separation of the sanitary system from the stormwater system is really cost prohibitive. And that really came about as you looked at the Rand Park project, and that the way that thing escalated exponentially as you looked at how much it was going to cost to do that. There was a discussion held with the EPA. This is not a one sentence, and I'm sorry, but I don't know how you do a one sentence discussion on that. There was a request to the EPA, hey, could we look at doing a different type of arrangement instead of doing complete separation? We feel like overall the amount, when there is a stormwater, when there's a major storm event and you have a diversion of some of that stormwater directly to the river, we have a feeling we're getting the majority of the first part that goes through the system does go to the plant.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of what's going actually to the river is straight stormwater. And we're trying to do measurements on that to verify that that is the case and justify to the EPA why there is a reason to allow there to be a certain amount of overflow. But you can't do that if you can't get good, accurate measurements.
Right. And as was mentioned earlier, it's all got to do with the consent order that we're due to have completed by 2030. And that's drawing near. Otherwise, well, Jim mentioned the Rand Park study, and that was to bore the hole underneath the park. That started out, I want to say, about 12 million, and I've heard estimates all the way over 100 million. Realistically, with the technology advancements, I would guess it to be probably around 60. But still, that's far more than what we as a city can afford.
For perspective, we have about a $3 million annual budget. So that's 20 years of annual budget for all costs. It is too much.
Yeah. And that's why we need to get this going, and the results, the testing, the results, the metering need to be accurate so the EPA will accept it.
Something that is, we're going to and I was going to cover this at the end, but we have some significant issues dealing with our sewer system. This is a major concern to me. I think that as we look to where our future is with the whole sewer program, the overall status of it, I think there's some major concerns out there. The Timea Street project, incorporating the sewer separation that we're doing there, we never built that into a scope of work with the EPA. I think that's something that we'll be able to sell, that we did a different project that did eliminate a portion of the community from that as a bargaining chip, as we talk about an extension of time frame. But we have, I think that beyond that, when we lost Ryan, I think that it really changes the dynamics of where we're at as a plant too. We lost a good second in command, a good succession plan, and operating a plant is pretty difficult. Doing it in a way that is proactive is difficult. And I think there's for the long term, the 5 to 10 to 20 year period, that I want to make sure that we look at what our options are for trying to have a good plan of action for addressing it. You know, we're also using 3 different consultants on different portions of what we're doing. That is not the way to make an overall system work. We have to get a coordinated plan of action for how we're doing this. I know that's a bigger scope than what is here, but I also wanted to bring that up as we talk about goal setting at the end of September. This is probably not on most people's top of minds, but I think for council, this is going to be a big topic that you need to make sure that we don't lose track of.
Right.
So
It's very important.
But anyway, I would recommend that we go ahead and do the service agreement with GPM on it.
Council comments on the service agreement? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Consider a resolution approving the salary increase for Alicia Jones and Brett Davis at the Police Department Records Division. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Zeth, you got something?
I don't have anything extra that wasn't laid out during budget talks. If anybody has specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Remind us on what these people do and how that fits in.
Sure. So during the budget discussions, we had a records clerk, Ashley Cusser, that was making a career change, and the council chose not to backfill that position while leaving me $10,000 in the budget to split between the other 2 employees that would take on the work that she was leaving behind. Some of that includes assisting in grant tracking, processing bills, payroll, approximately 900 reports a year, records requests, phone calls, lobby walk-ins, taking payments, assisting with the new hire process, budgeting, discovery requests, filing court service, and purging old files, just kind of tip of the iceberg, and then everything else I put on their plates. As Ashley was preparing to leave, we did a little kind of an in-house study on how that work would be divvied up between the 2 other employees, and we landed on an $8,000 raise for Lacey Jones and a $2,000 raise for Brett Davis, as the majority of the work is going to fall on Lacey's shoulders.
Thank you. Anything to add? Comments or questions from the council? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to consider a resolution approving a salary increase for night shift sergeant position at the police department. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Kathy, seconded by
Second.
Mike. Discussion?
So again, this was something that was discussed at length during the budget session, and this is a matter of moving. Our night shift captains work without a sergeant, and for working without a sergeant, they get an incentive, which is $2.14 an hour. That would be shifting that $2.14 an hour from one of our night shift captains, Pat Hall, to a recently promoted Sergeant Bruce Billings. That would take effect this Saturday. Again, it's budgeted for money. It's there. It's just removing it from one individual and giving it to another.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the council? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to consider a resolution approving an amendment to the employee handbook. Need a motion and a second. Discussion. Jim, is this one you?
Yeah, sure. You brought up the topic.
That's why I'm asking.
Our current policy, and I put the whole policy handbook in, so I do apologize because that's like 65 stinking pages in this packet. But on page 56 of our employee handbook, it has a discussion about meal allowance and how reimbursement works. It's historically been, or by the policy, it's as a reimbursement of, well, let's put it on the credit card, your city credit card. You have a cap of $45 unless you're approved to go up to $55 for the day. Receipt tracking it sometimes works well, sometimes it doesn't. It can't include, it needs to be an itemized receipt, which can be a difficulty at times. It can't include alcohol on it. Some of the markets that people travel to, the $55 can even be out of line if you're traveling to Chicago or DC in particular. The meal allowance can be kind of hard to accomplish, and I think that's part of why you were bringing this up, that it's not a high enough reimbursement amount to necessarily cover our folks who are out training.
And part of the most onerous part of it was $15 a meal, and you couldn't carry it over. So
yep,
you can probably cover a breakfast a lot of places at $15, but try covering a dinner at $15. So
yeah,
it put a burden on staff,
so I looked at
employees.
An option for consideration of going to a reimbursement based off of the GSA schedule. The GSA schedule gives a per meal breakdown of reimbursement. And they allow you to do the option where you don't have to collect receipts. You just, if you had a meal that you had to pay or cover on your own, that you were responsible while traveling, we would provide a fixed dollar amount. For example, if you're traveling to Polk County, Des Moines, the meal allowance would be $20 for breakfast, $22 for lunch, $33 for dinner. If you're covering all 3 meals that you're responsible for on a multiple day training or whatever it is, you would receive a $75 meal reimbursement. You could use that. How the employees could use that. They could have one meal that cost more than the others. It wouldn't matter if it went over the actual meal allowance for that specific meal. You're getting a flat reimbursement based on your being responsible while you're out. The policy that's written in here would say if you're at a conference or something that's providing a meal, you do not get a meal allowance for that meal that they are providing. It's only for ones that are your responsibility. It still does, after the personnel committee looked at this. One of the things that there was a desire to do is to still leave the option that if you had somebody who wasn't able to cover the costs and wait for a meal reimbursement afterwards, to allow them to still use the city credit card. The department head could authorize that to occur and still follow the same receipt process where they submitted receipts. But it would still be capped if they are responsible for a lunch while they're in Des Moines. They'd still be capped at that $22 amount for any potential reimbursement. So it's not the easiest thing to work. As I know we've had people who've gone to, I think, Brian, you've been to meals or been to events in Chicago where you've had a meal cost that has been over the threshold, and now you're into this problem of how do I pay for this if I'm capped at $55 for the day, and you got a meal thing that's going to put you over that. Do you have to split that between 2 cards so that you're paying the rest of it personally? But you do still have that option if the department wants to allow that to happen. This would still allow that. Personnel committee, does anyone have any comments on after having gone through this?
I think we were there, and I think that it's fair to the employee. I think that we did discuss about the idea of handing that money out early, but then we talked about what if they cancel, what if they leave 2 days early, all those kind of things. So it would still be a reimbursement after the fact, but I think it should be done by the department head. I think the department head of that group should fill out the application about who was there, what meals they qualify for, so we have consistency.
Kathy, anything to add? Anyone else? Council? Hearing no further discussion, motion on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to number 14, consider a resolution amending hunting rules associated with the City of Keokuk Urban Deer Management Program. Need a motion and a second. So moved. Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion.
We received a request to consider amending the hunting rules. The hunting rules are included in the packet. The way that our hunting program that we've had in place since, I don't know if it was 2019 that it was established. That's the date that I saw on at least one of the things in there. Allows for people to participate in a hunting program if they're 18 years of age or older and have a valid Iowa hunter safety card. We received a request from someone who had a child who is 16, has gone through the DNR program because you're allowed to go through the program at age 16, and has their valid Iowa hunter safety card. They asked if their child could participate in this. From a staffing perspective, we didn't have any comments for or against. I think the only thing that came up in a department head meeting talking about this was the idea of having, if they were going to be between that younger than 18 in the 16 to 17 year category, that they would need to be in the presence of a parental guardian. It would make it at least a little bit more palatable. Now, this is brought forward, so again, there's a request from someone in the community. We don't have an objection to it. It is written in a way that we feel comfortable with. If you're gonna make an amendment, that this would work. And then just turn it over to you for whether you want to make this amendment or not.
And am I to understand, a 16, 17-year-old would still have to pass the proficiency test?
They'll have to pass the test, yes,
And
and be with their parent.
my understanding was the law allowed a 16-year-old, but the City of Keokuk, when we approved it, did not allow a 16-year-old. So this would lower it from 18 to 16, which is what's available other places.
When would this go into effect if we approved it?
Immediately.
Could, Chief Baum, would we be able to do like an additional qualification period? This Saturday is the final one, correct?
We actually just added one additional date, not relevant to this particular request, though. I would work with Captain Moore and Detective Whitaker to see if we could add at least one more date if we're going to change this late in the game. The other thing I see with this is it says in the presence of a parent. Do we need to define what in the presence means? Because sometimes when you're hunting, you might be, depending on the size of the property, is that something we want to take into consideration, or I don't know. do we want to define what in the presence of a guardian means, as opposed to assuming that everybody is going to have the same general idea of what that is?
So would we want to define like the parent or their parental would need to have their hunting license also, permit to carry? Or would it be like, anybody?
No, I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but you would assume if a 16-year-old is out bow hunting in our city, that the adult that they're with is probably also partaking in that, but maybe not. That's a consideration for the council. I don't know that it, as long as they went through the proper channels to get their hunter safety card, I mean, they've cleared what the DNR wants them to have.
I guess I'm confused on like why, if they're out on private property and they have their hunting license, they've done hunter safety, they've passed our qualifications for, these 16-year-olds can go out on private property throughout the state. They can go on public hunting ground, whatever. They can hunt on their own. They're bow hunting deer. They can drive all over the state under a driver's license. Do they need to be under adult supervision if their parents have given them permission to do this? They're properly licensed on private property. Because like you said, with deer stands, you might be 200 yards away. You're not under adult supervision anyway. And this is to get rid of excess deer in the city and let people fill their tags. It's a 16, 17-year-old kid. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, do we really need a provision that they have to, have? Yeah. I mean, their parents have given them permission to go out hunting. They can all throughout the state on their own. Go sit in a deer blind, go sit in a deer stand. They have permission to do so on private property. That is within our regulations. They're the proper distance away from occupied structures and all that, and they're doing it safely. They're shooting, presumably, from an elevated position into the ground. Let these young adults go hunting without, having mom and dad hold your hand because they're allowed to anywhere else in the state. They're on private property. If this was like their hunting city parks and stuff, sure, we could do that, but they're out on private property, let them hunt. I'd rather have them out hunting deer than doing burnouts down on the riverfront. They don't have adult supervision doing that, so.
I guess my concern is it's hard to expect a 16, 17-year-old to have the same amount of discretion as an adult. So if there was any injury to property or to persons, who would be responsible for that? Would it be the supervising adult in that situation?
Well, in that situation, typically when there's some sort of destruction of private property, there needs to be an intent element along with that. Did they shoot an arrow into a house on purpose and cause damage? Without that intent there, you're not going to have a criminal avenue anyways. It's going to be one of a civil nature. And that doesn't have to do with us. That they'd have to go to the courts and file a civil suit and in that sort of situation if there was no intent there. Yet I understand your point, having supervision there and having somebody to fall back on and say this, they're being supervised. But I also understand Councilman Van Berkham's point as well that, at 16, maybe a happy medium is to have the parents sign a waiver that they can participate in the program. I don't know.
Would the wording as is, would that require, say, the guardian to be in the tree stand with the youth at the time the shot was taken?
Your interpretation of in the presence of may be different than mine. And that's what sparked my question is, what does that mean? Do we need to define exactly what that means? Does it need to say within the same land ownership parcel or within 100 yards, or do we get rid of it all together and just trust that the hunter safety course is doing what it's supposed to do and teaching these young hunters to act safely? And those are all considerations.
Which I'm in total support of the hunting aspect of it, but just being in town, that kind of changes the game just a little bit. It's not quite like going out in the woods and going hunting like a lot of us might be used to. Hunting in town is kind of a different thing, and it's kind of a bigger responsibility, I guess. So I would be a little apprehensive about allowing that level of responsibility to fall on a 16, 17-year-old.
Sure, and something that may ease that a little bit is if you're hunting on somebody else's property, you have to have written permission from those individuals. So it's not like they're going to show up on somebody's property and hunt without the owner knowing that they're out there and having given permission. So at the very least, the only property they should be on is property that they own or they have permission to be on.
I think I see both sides of it. I agree with what Matt's saying, but if you go back to their request, I think it was a parent that wanted their son to go with them. So this is the first time it's come up. My recommendation was to go with it as it's read, with the parental person there. If something comes up down the road where we have more people that are 16, 17 that want to participate, we can relook at the resolution.
So
Leave it as it is.
So is that the resolution says if they are accompanied by it says parental guardian. I think that should be parent or guardian. But then the rules are what you're referring to with while in the presence. So does in the accompanied by change anything from your
That's a word that can be interpreted.
Yeah. Well,
And that's
what I'm asking.
You know, what that means to me might mean something different to a judge, and that's where the issue comes in, is it's not clearly defined.
So what is clearly defined?
I mean, you would have to put some sort of distance on it, you know, within 100 yards, 200 yards on the same parcel of land would be acceptable, in my opinion, but something, because it's not uncommon for, if there's a large chunk of land, you're not right by each other. You're typically on two separate sides of the parcel. So if this is something that we are tasked with enforcing, we need to clarify the language, neither get rid of that portion and allow the 16 and 17-year-olds to hunt as it is currently regulated, or clarify what being accompanied by a parental guardian means, or in the presence of a guardian. We need to know what that means. Otherwise, we can interpret it, and we haven't had any issues with the urban deer hunting, but we can interpret it, and should we come along a violation as we interpret it, we could write the violation and see where it lands. But if we have an opportunity to get in front of that by clarifying the language, I think that's the route to go.
Well, what about if we say parent or guardian? What about a kid that their parents don't hunt? They're completely, opposed to it, but he wants to go out with his uncle that is a lifetime bow hunter, and the uncle wants to take him out. Because as it's written right now, we could have a parent take their kid out with the parent's permission, but the parent is not a hunter, doesn't know the first thing about ethical killing, doesn't know the first thing about, the ballistics of a bow or shooting. They're just out there supervising their kid, not having a clue about it, but they're supervising their kid, versus if it's left to, like it is with the persons under 16, where they have to be with a licensed adult hunter. Where's that opportunity for, me to take my nephew out hunting, but I'm not his parent, so that can't happen. We got to consider everybody that, wants to participate in this program versus, just the parents or guardians. If we're trying to get these kids out doing something positive.
My concern, say I live down on Orleans, my neighbor decides he wants to get a permit. Do the neighbors get heads up that he's going to be out on these certain days, so they don't be outside, or children can't be jumping on a trampoline?
In
How
a
many
residential,
acres do you have to have? I mean, is it,
in a residential
what's
area,
it say in the
in a residential area like that, you're going to be too close to a structure. Nobody should be hunting in a residential area like that.
So how big does this urban area have to be?
I'd have to reference but it's in the middle of town. You're not going to qualify to hunt.
He's maybe 50 yards.
I believe it's 50 yards from an occupied structure, but yeah, that's 150 feet. You're not going to have that on any of our city blocks. This is going to apply out in like West K, out on Johnson Street Road, maybe some areas out on Middle Road. I know people put up some stands out on River Road in the woods on the hill there, but the concern shouldn't be in the middle of the city. Nobody should be hunting there.
Right. Even out there by where you just said, shouldn't people around that area be warned?
I mean,
Because
that's gonna add a whole nother layer to this thing. We've been doing this since, I believe, 2019. There haven't been any issues thus
Okay.
far. The people that take part in this program legally are the ones that are typically proficient and avid hunters. They're not somebody that decides to go buy a bow at Walmart and they want to shoot a deer in their backyard in West K. That's not typically the people that partake in this. And you do have to show proficiency. You have to come qualify, which shows that you shouldn't accidentally be shooting your neighbor on a trampoline.
Thank you.
Yep.
Has there been a single instance involving your agency with the bow hunting program other than qualifying?
I didn't catch that last part, sorry.
Other than like running the qualification program, have there been any service calls generated by this program?
There has been one person in the history of the program that violated the program and was suspended from the program. And that was several years ago, and that individual has he's been added back to the program, and we haven't had any additional issues. We don't issue the tags, the state of Iowa does. We don't issue the tags, the state of Iowa does, and then they come and report the kill, typically to the fire department.
So I think what we've got before us here is we've got one option to allow with parental supervision. If there's anybody on the council that would like to change that verbiage, would that be an amendment that they would need to make to the motion? So if anybody wants to change anything, they should make an amendment. Otherwise, it's presented as with what, a parent only, and there's no definition of distance between them.
I'm in support of this. I think it's a great program, and I would definitely like to see younger kids get involved in it. I would like to know that the supervising parental guardian also has passed the proficiency tests, also has, a license. And so there aren't any situations where, a younger kid is being unsupervised or being supervised by somebody who's not really a hunter. You don't have those situations. So the responsibility should fall more on the guardian in this situation. I do believe they should be just as qualified. They should be certified to hunt within the city if they're going to be supervising their child hunting in the city.
Chief, you did say that all the participants of this program get approved through the department. So it would not be a major administrative issue that when the child is getting approved, that there could be some kind of line form where it's stated who they would be hunting with, and then that would be the check that we're all talking about here.
Yeah, I think what Councilman Walker is asking for is that the person that is going to supervise the individual also pass the proficiency test.
Yeah, but there's that opportunity then where they're saying this is the person, and then you're able to check to make sure that person's also on your list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you looked at these programs in other cities?
I have not. The change to this actually caught me off guard. I was on vacation.
I know,
This is,
Assistant Chief was here.
yeah, and he's a good one to speak on it because he participates in the program. He's an avid hunter and he runs some of the qualifications.
And I was just trying to find rules on some other communities. I think like Burlington's, I don't think it makes a designation on age. It just says valid license that you've gone through the program. So it would be down to that 16. I couldn't find anything on Iowa cities that when they had the program that they had any sort of an age limit on theirs, but I don't have the full stuff that I'm looking at here either, just on websites.
And I could do some digging on that. Again, I don't like to assume, but I would think most cities probably rely on the DNR's requirements.
With no age requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I think the council member made the comment of why do we have the parent guardian thing in there? You don't need to. But you have others down here who think it's very important.
I think that we should table it, and this should come up in a workshop where we have more time to discuss it, to get more of a better feeling with it.
I think the season starts in September. We may have one more council meeting before it starts, maybe two. So if we are going to table it, we need to keep that in mind, that it's something that we need to meet on quickly and come to a determination on where it's going to land so it can be presented and give those individuals an opportunity to come show their proficiency.
Chief, would 2 weeks be enough time for you to bring a recommendation on how you would be comfortable with that verbiage to play out?
Yes.
Doug, was that a motion?
Make that as a motion.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to table it. Vote on that now. Is that right? Sorry. Little procedural thing. Those in favor of tabling the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed? Table this until the next meeting. That brings us to number 15, to consider a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Pilot Grove Savings Bank for banking services. Need a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Jim, is that?
Yeah, Celeste went out for an RFP for banking services end of May, and we had 3 responses. I think we had a due date like June 2nd or June 6th, something like that. We did receive 3 responses from local banks, Connection Bank, State Central Bank, and Pilot Grove Savings Bank. Out of the 3, both State Central and Pilot Grove met the basic minimum requirements on it. Both were excellent proposals. Pilot Grove's was about 40 basis points or 0.4% better rate of return. Both were doing what we were asking or requesting in terms of waiving fees on the majority of services. Based on the fact that Pilot Grove was about 40 basis points, which amounts to, I don't know, depending on how much we do keep, 60 to 70,000 a year anyway, in additional interest. And they have been the bank that we've worked with for several years. There was a good rationale to continue working with them, to name them as our official bank for our main banking services. What is put before you has that in mind, to do that for the period of the next 3 years. It has written into it that there is the option to have additional 1-year periods if we both mutually agree to extend the current arrangement without going out for a request for proposals. One of the things when the Finance Committee was talking about the responses that we did receive, the Finance Committee did want to see us look at putting some money out into other banks within the community. What we ultimately ended up with was the idea of looking to place maybe 1.25 million, 1.25 million dollars into CDs, like a 1-year CD, doing that on every 3 months. That would allow, I mean, if we did that and we did that over the course of a year, we'd get about $5 million that was going out into CDs. We'd always have one of those CDs maturing on a quarterly basis, so we'd have access to those funds on a rolling basis. The idea with that would be that when we're going out for CDs, look for the best rates we can get from a local bank, and place it where we are getting the best rate of return. If nobody's responding with a rate of return that's higher than what we're currently earning from the main bank that we have our checking account at, then we just not place any in a CD in that quarter. The rate of return, I guess I didn't mention that, is I'd ask for a federal funds rate as a minimum standard. That is not what was responded back. It was the Federal Reserve interest rate on required reserves, which currently is significantly higher than what the base federal funds rate. It doesn't vary the same way. They have different dynamics of how they work. But the response with it being 50 basis points above that, the Federal Reserve interest rate on required reserves, IRRR, I think is how you do that. That's figured we'd be looking at that on a monthly basis. It's currently, that would put it at 4.15%, with the IRRR currently at 3.65%. It would be compounded daily, credited monthly, reset on the first of every month. Does that meet what we had talked about in the finance committee?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Celeste and Jim for putting this together. When we went through our budgets, we had a very tough time through budgets, as everybody knows, by cutting over $1 million out of our budget. This is another piece of the puzzle that has an opportunity, is going to bring in significant amount of money to the city, that to me personally translates into employees. This could generate an extra, minimum of $300,000 to $400,000 a year into the city coffers. So I think it's a big deal, and I appreciate the efforts that's been put into it and the sacrifices that's been made.
So that being said, you look at every events that we have in the city, there's always Connection Bank, there's State Central Bank that donate money. State Central Bank keeps all their loans in the city. State Central Bank carried Keokuk through the Depression. And you saying to do all our business with Pilot Grove is like saying that we're going to do all our business with CCS, where we don't need bids other places. The rate of return was 4.1, and State Central was with that too. And so I don't see the problem in dividing some of the money to the other banks, Connection Bank, to help them out, to help us out. It's a win-win for all the banks in the city.
So it is important to note that with this request.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, it is important to note that for this process, that Connection Bank told us they could not take on the city's account due to the dollar amount associated with it. And while State Central gave us a proposal, they then pulled that proposal off the table for the exact same reason, leaving us for our main checking, as Pilot Grove being the only bank that provided us an actual proposal for this. So then bringing up the concept of the CDs every quarter, that was really a compromise that was brought up through the finance committee and with meeting with some of the banks and with Jim, to give those banks that were not able to meet the city's obligations an opportunity to still be involved and bid it out on a regular basis. So that was us trying to still give all the banks in town an opportunity to come to the table.
Yeah, but you're looking at giving 90% to Pilot Grove, and then you turn around and give CDs, which you can't do anything with until their maturity. So where's the help from the other banks when they're tied up in CDs?
I think I can try to get down to the brass tacks of this. When this was presented to the banks at that time, the ultimate goal was, we've had Pilot Grove since 2013.
Okay.
We can all argue about why it was never visited since 2013 about locking in a better rate. I don't have that answer. But what I can say is Jim and Celeste went out and put out this proposal to try to raise more money for the city's funds. With that original agreement, and the original agreement didn't have the option to divide it up. Not that it was anybody's fault, it just wasn't thought of. Now, let me say one more thing. Nobody was upset about this or was aware of this until we brought it up. So I'm not aware of any of the banks, and maybe they did. I wasn't on the council since January. So maybe since 2013, maybe some of these banks did come to the city and say, can we have part of it? I don't know that. What I know, if we could do it over again, and hindsight being 2020, yes, I'd like to see it done different. But considering the fact that we already put this out for proposal, I think morally and ethically, we should try to follow along. Now, we did have a meeting with Pilot Grove, and like Michael said, this was a compromise. The compromise was, let's take out of that 17 million and change, let's take 5 million of it, which is more than 90%.
Okay.
90%, they're not getting 90%. But I see your point. But the point is, we want to give an opportunity to be able to get some of that money. If it's really important to the other banks, they have an opportunity to bid on 5 million of it. And that's our compromise until we can look at this in the next few years and see if there's a better way that we want to do it. We sure can. But going back to what you said about CCS, for example. Now, if we would have went out and we bid a $12 million street program, and we had a bid for it for 12 million, we wouldn't go and we got one contractor won it and we took the bid. I don't think it would be morally and ethically right for us to go and say, well, we got 4 other contractors in town, we should let them have 3 or 4 million of it at the same price. So I think since we're put in that kind of a predicament, I think this is a good compromise. I understand 100% what you're saying. I fought for it. I was fighting for exactly what you were saying. But I think that for this time and moment, the way it was presented, this is about the fairest that we can do for the moment.
So what you're saying is Pilot Grove's got all the money.
12 million, so
Okay. And then you're giving CDs to the other.
to anybody that bids it.
They're going to bet.
But they can't do anything with the money. It's just CDs. It's locked in. And they can't, if you decide we have something happen, you can't go to State Central or any other bank and say, hey, we need some of our money back out.
If we lock our money in a CD, we can't get to it. Is that what your comment is?
You can't.
No, and that's part of why we do rolling CDs, so that you have it every 3 months, 1.25 million would come up. We don't historically use that level of money anyway. Our balance has stayed in the above 12 million pretty much anytime.
But you can't predict that.
Yeah.
What? Okay. I get that. But still, giving a CD to a bank is just like saying, here, you have this, but you can't do anything with it.
You mean as far as the bank goes?
Yeah. And, yeah. And is it fair? I can't hear you. Gotta come up here.
Matt, would you step up to the microphone and
Please.
give us your name and title?
Good evening. My name is Matt Morrison. I'm with Pilot Grove Savings Bank. I'm the president and CEO. I've been with the bank for 20 years. born and raised here in Lee County. I live over in Donaldson. I've worked in Keokuk almost my whole life.
Could you put that close to your mouth?
My first job was here in town at Hy-Vee, and then I've been with the bank for 20 years. So I'm very familiar with Keokuk, graduated from SEC here in Keokuk. We have been very proud to be the city's bank since 2013 when State Central sold the assets and left town. And, I can assure you we're here to stay. We're not leaving. We've had a very good relationship. We have paid a fair amount of interest, and there was years ago where the interest rates were much lower, so it's not like the city's missed out on piles of interest. Interest rates have only come up in the last year or so. But anyways, the last 13 years have been a great relationship. Hopefully Celeste can attest to that. We've provided all the services. In the city's account, it's very important to us, and we appreciate it a lot. There's a lot of work that goes into it. We provide all those services for free. You have to pledge investments to cover. So if the city's bank account's 20 million, you have to pledge 20 million in investments because you can't default on city funds. Those have to be insured at all times. So that you've got the interest rate plus the pledging. They're very expensive funds to hold on to. So that's probably why Connection, and I can't speak on their
Actually,
behalf.
Connection's response said they couldn't afford to do the pledging at the same time as meet the minimum rate.
Right.
So essentially, they were saying they could be our bank, but they couldn't meet the minimum interest rate while doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a high loan demand right now, and we feel we can put those funds to use. And we are locally owned and locally managed right here in Lee County. We've got 3 branches in Keokuk, 15 employees. I mean, city of Keokuk is very important to us. As far as the CDs go, those are a wonderful source of for our bank. We do CDs every day. People bring in their money, open up a CD. We take that money and lend it back out. So I think what the council and the finance committee have done is a very fair compromise. I mean, Pilot Grove did win the bid that was set forth. A very professional RFP process was gone through, and we won that fair and square. And I do appreciate, we work with many, many businesses and here in town and in Lee County. So we like to spread our business around too. I think it's a very fair way to go about it is to put the CDs out for bid, and all the banks will bid on those and be happy to work with you on those CDs.
Well, I'm sure you feel it's a way to go when you're just giving CDs to other banks and you have the rest of the cash.
We're going to bid on the CDs too. We like to keep the CDs as well. We bid on CDs all the time for different individuals or businesses where we don't have their main accounts, but we'd be happy to take their CDs.
Thank you, Matt.
You bet. I appreciate the council's time and that they put forth very professional RFP process.
Appreciate you waiting this long to get to you. Are there other comments or questions? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. And that brings us to item 16, which is to consider a resolution approving a web services agreement. We need a motion in a second.
Second.
Jim,
Again, this is something that you have been championing for quite a while.
you're my mouthpiece, Jim.
Thank you. I'm glad to do
You
that.
refine all this for me.
All right, so the mayor has really wanted to do something about our webpage. He actually cares about people being able to see what is going on in the city in a way that makes sense and isn't overly confusing. Our website does lack, and so the idea of going out and looking at some potential upgrades to what we have made a lot of sense. As we went through the process, the mayor did put together a group of users throughout the city. Not members of the public, different departments within the city, to be part of an evaluation process of talking about what is it that we try to use, what do we want to use the website for, and then as we looked at different providers, are they going to help us in doing what we're trying to accomplish? We had during the process, we looked at two main providers that do work for probably the majority of communities across the state, and actually across the country as you start looking at Civic Plus and Municipal One. We also looked at a local provider who was very flexible and did a good job of being able to, once he was shown what we were looking to do, create a structure that would allow us to do it at a fairly comparable cost. So for the group, looking at the three different providers, out of the three, Civic Plus was more expensive than Municipal One. It might have been a little bit better. I think it might have been a little bit better product, but they both are very used to doing cities, and they've got a good structure for making sure that you're getting done what needs to be done in a community. They know how to organize what makes sense logically, how people are going to look through things for different departments, for how they're going to look through the website to find meeting notices. And as we're being pushed to have all of our, we got to get all our committees, all their agendas posted on our website now. So we got to get a little bit better about how we're using that as a management tool for that portion too. They've walked through that over time. We're coming up on some rules that are coming down from the federal government about accessibility for, I don't know exactly how they describe that, but being able to translate a web page so that if you have some visual impairments, you can have that translated, you can listen to what's being said. So it automatically converts documents. Municipal One had that built in. Civic Plus had it as an add-on. The local vendor was able to do it, but we needed to be able to provide documents in the correct format to him in order to make that conversion process, which is a little bit more problematic for us. It puts more work on us. And I think the other thing that that made Municipal One just stand out a little bit over him just was their ability to be proactive with seeing what's going on with other communities. They see what is being mandated on us and are automatically upgrading us to what we need to accomplish. And that the group that was looking at that ultimately looked at Municipal One as the best provider of the three. And I guess I can turn it over to you, Mark, because you were really driving what you wanted to see on here from making sure that we look good from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, you outlined it very well. I'd just say the only thing I'd add is yes, the city website is very much lacking. It's very difficult to run. It's very difficult to get onto and find things. We had an example come up with our participation in the housing study, where the person working on the housing study missed what was on the city website. I'm sure, as clunky as our website is, that was part of the reason it got missed. So, and if we're going to be responsive to community needs and citizen needs, we need a better website. It'll allow us to do a lot of things, allow us to communicate much better. So, and as the committee studied this, they were happy with what they saw from all three vendors and ended up selecting Municipal One. So.
Question on this agreement. I see in the form it says the cost of the $9,500, and then that's for the one-time implementation and online training. Then it also lists the $8,900 a year for the website service bundle. So are we looking at the one-time cost this year and then starting the service agreement in the following years, or we're not doing the service agreement and then we just have to tackle issues when they pop up in the future? What's the plan there?
It would be an ongoing cost.
Okay, but so year one is the one-time fee, then that's why that 9,500 is written on the form and not the two fees added together?
I actually think it'd be the two fees added together.
Okay,
And I just didn't do that. Sorry about that.
okay, all right, thank you for that clarification.
This has come up a number of times, and it's just something that the city needs to be better at. If we're going to be a real business, we need to have a real website. So, other comments or questions?
So you went out and got other bids and you've looked at them all and this is,
Yeah. Like Jim said, there were three that responded to two national companies, one local company,
okay.
and the decision was to go with one of the national companies.
Because of the bid.
It wasn't really a bid, so I mean,
Okay.
it was.
We just asked for proposals. This is a little bit different structure because we were asking for what are you able to provide? And then looking at, when you're there are three different proposals, and they had different things that they were offering as part of their package and different add-ons that you could do. So, I mean, then you're trying to do more of a preference based on this,
Right.
the way it was done.
Other comments or questions?
How long, once they set this up, how long are they going to be with us to adjust or?
They'll provide continuous support
For how long?
as long as we pay them.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a 1-year contract, so, and it would come up again and again. Other comments or questions? Hearing none, motion on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to council liaison. Shut up, watch. This brings us to the council liaison reports. Any council liaison reports that have not, we hit a bunch of them tonight in the.
I think we've
in
already hit it.
discussions.
But I would like to say one thing. I think this gentleman out here that has sat through this long meeting should get a government badge. So if you have one of those, please do that, because they've sat through a long meeting.
Yeah. No council liaison reports, staff reports. Is that?
Yeah, I had a quick report on one of our squad cars. A couple months ago, we had a blown engine in one of our newer units. It had approximately 40,000 miles on it. We just got the report back from Jim Beyer after Chrysler ordered a complete teardown of the engine to find what was wrong with it. And it will be covered under warranty, and we should have that back. August 14th is the date that they gave us.
Thank you. Brian?
A couple project updates. 10th Street. Some of you may or may not know, over the 4th of July weekend, W.L. Miller's asphalt plant caught on fire. They're still not operational. I've been in contact with them. They are waiting on a couple more parts to get that up and running. All the concrete work for the curbing and new pedestrian ramps from Johnson Street up to Timey are complete. WL does have one more lift of asphalt to put on when they get their plant up and running. We did decide, after meeting on site, to add some to this project along the Tangles building, or the hair salon, the Prices Zone. That parking area and sidewalk was in really bad shape. So we decided to add that to the project. We did get a change order from the contractor that had that portion added to it, and then it had all the deductions that we were going to get on that project. We reduced the amount of curbing. We did not have to do any full depth patching, and since we reduced the curbing, there was reduction in the curb and gutter removal. So with the add-on and the deductions, we will have a net savings on this project of $158,441. So that's good news. Bel Air project update. most of you know, they got the main line paving done on Park. They still have the intersection tie-ins to do. Keokuk Contractors has started on the sanitary sewer and is running up Bel Air. We're hoping, knock on wood, that we can get the intersections tied in to get Park Lane fully open by the time school starts. That might be pushing a little bit, but they should be really close. The public safety roof project, contractor is set to start on that next Tuesday, or is it Tuesday? Next Wednesday, the 12th. And then there'll be a pre-construction site meeting on the 10th.
I have an update on that. They came today.
Oh, they did?
And I was told it would be approximately 3 or 4 weeks before they got started due to materials.
Yeah, as many of you may be aware, we had a sanitary sewer overflow at 3rd and Des Moines. Jim spoke of our sewers having needs, specific needs, and this one does. This was installed, I want to say, back in 2014, I believe, and it was part of the sewer separation. And it's a sluice gate there at the overflow. And it was installed to protect the plant from large flows of different processes from too much flow during a rain event. And in a rain event, the sluice gate is supposed to shut to only allow between 10 and 13 million gallons per day coming down to the plant. But somehow it extended too far when it was in the shut position, and became detached from the nut that slides up and down the shaft to open and close the gate. And today we're finally able to get down in there, and we opened the gate manually with a come along, and it's completely open, so all the flow is going to the plant where it should go. Come to find out that brass nut evidently is stripped, and we just have to order some parts for it. It's kind of old, but we'll do what we can and get that totally fixed. But we're no longer flowing to the river, which is really good. And the DNR has been notified both when I found out about the overflow and when it was corrected.
Thank you. Jim, anything?
Let's see. Got a couple of things, I guess. EPA site visit next week. They're going to be reviewing the work that's going on out at the Elchem site, the Brownfields project that we've had going on, just to look at progress. And they would love to be able to have at least a little bit of discussion with a couple of council members. So I invited all of you to be here. So whoever made it, Tuesday, August 11, 9 o'clock. And they basically are wanting to be able to, well, they want us to be able to express how happy we are that they put money into our site, but also to have a little bit of brainstorming of what are potential long-term uses for that site. And that we will have Lee County Economic Development, Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission will be here. I think that their voices in terms of potential long-term uses will be of more insight than maybe ours in terms of what EPA needs to hear. But they're looking to say they've had some pressure put on them as an organization because they've put 3 consecutive funding rounds into our community, and they want to be able to show that this is a good investment of their funds. So that's where they're wanting to. I think the biggest thing for us is just to make sure that we're demonstrating that how appreciative we are of it, but also that this is part of a long-term process where we're looking to get this site reused as it gets completed. It's not going to be done till 2028 at least, probably 2029 for getting all the clearances that will need to be done at the state level as well for reuse. We met with Kinetic. Is that right? You want to talk about that, Brian? Yeah, because no one's going to be happy about this, but.
Yeah, we met with a company called Connect. They took over Windstream CenturyLink. They are going to be coming to town to do another community-wide fiber build out. Probably going to start here within the next couple of months. We received about 30 permit requests this week that Annette and I have been going through and approving. They will come back and meet with us and have a pre-construction meeting before this starts. We've learned a lot from the IMON build out. So we're laying out some parameters for their contractor when they come to town. So hopefully we don't have near the issues that we had with IMON with their contractor with the hits and the pavement issues that we've had. But that's going to be coming in the near future.
When Imon came in, didn't we have to approve stuff in advance?
One of the things that we did, typically, our normal process is it's a permit for each dig, and we did an overall agreement with them for an agreement for up to $50-some thousand that they would reimburse us based off of, was it $50 an hour?
Based off $50 an hour for our locating services.
And we're looking at that potentially coming here to the council for consideration at one of the next couple of meetings as well for this project. Otherwise, it would be it's kind of up to it would be us charging on a per permit, and you'd
per
have
permit
to do,
application basis at $35 a permit.
yeah,
It
it's a
gets
little bit
tedious with
it's
these
a little
big
bit
build-outs.
smoother if we can do an overall agreement for the whole thing.
So what we voted on though was just kind of a reimbursement of money thing coming back to the city. It's
Correct.
not that we actually gave them permission to put their lines in.
We actually, the city has very little control over this.
So we can't stop this.
No, and one of the things that we are going to do, this is not just us. This is Fort Madison,
Burlington, Fort Madison, Mediapolis, and Mount Pleasant, I think they said.
all, well, for this build out, but they're all going through multiple build outs.
Right.
We're at a city administrator level, at least we're going to have a conference call with someone in the industry about trying to find out if there's anything that we can do in this process. But the state does actually at a federal level doesn't, no one wants us to have too much regulatory authority over what these entities are doing.
I assume then this is a separate network, separate build out. So
Yep.
everybody that complained about the plastic box in their yard is going to get a second plastic
Correct.
box in their yard, whether
Yes.
they're using it or not.
Correct.
Well, I mean, on a good note, I guess the community will have competition for their internet
There'll
services.
be choices for a better rate.
Yeah. They did say that their base rate is $49.99 for their 2-in-1 package, I believe.
And there was another company on the,
So the other company is MediaCom, but that's part of the BEAD project or BEAD program, which is a
Rural.
federally funded for rural. Jim and I went to that meeting Tuesday with Lee County and the other communities, but that is really not going to touch the city of Keokuk. That's continuing from was it a $2 million investment to begin with, or that the county match to have them start the build out? And this is a continuation that they're getting $140 million, I think, to do these rural build outs in Iowa.
I can't remember. They have a lot of communities they're doing this in.
So it's called the Keokuk project, but it's all the way up to West Burlington, and there's like 306 miles of rural fiber going in.
Okay. Something else that the personnel committee had looked at was the positions for, well, filling Annette's position as well as Pam's position. We had gotten, I think it's 7 applicants for Annette's, and right now, Brian and Pam are trying to get interviews set up to do interviews for getting that position filled. We're still taking, for Pam's position, the ad was set open until filled with the first review to begin after tomorrow. We've received 10 applicants for that job so far. We are going to have to figure out what we're doing for how that review process is going here in the next few weeks. But we have received multiple multiple applications for both. That is a lot of turmoil, though, within City Hall to have two of the main positions going at the same time. Finance Committee has also talked about health insurance. One of the things that we did talk about and maybe that we're going to at least visit over the next few months is whether we may want to have more than one option for plans that are available for our employees. And that would be something that would, we think, has a potential to be mutually beneficial to both the employee group and to us for just allowing employees to choose a secondary plan that may be a little bit cheaper overall, but it puts a little bit more onus on the employee to manage their costs. It's an option that we're looking to at least offer. But that's something to look forward to as we move into the next year. I mean, if that was done, it would be it would be for next July 1, when our plan year is. Just a reminder, League of Cities meeting September 23rd to 25 in Bettendorf. If anyone was interested in attending, we can certainly help you with arrangements to do that. Encourage folks, if they have the chance, to take advantage of that. I think it's a good training session, a good spot to get some basic education and build some ties with other people who are doing the same thing that you are. Some of them swimming new, just learning how to do things. Others who've been doing it for a long time. And that was going to follow right into the goal setting session. Just a reminder, September 26th, that Saturday morning. And I think you all received a letter from the Rand Park Pavilion Commission. But if any of you did not see it, they did provide a thank you letter for what the council did commit to putting into the funding for them for this year. So it was nice that they were willing to acknowledge that. And when we prioritize things, it is a benefit for the community too. And I'm glad that they could recognize that. And goal setting session, I do want you to be thinking through what is it that I don't know how this gentleman is going to structure it, but what are the issues that you're going to be looking at? I mean, my thought process is that you need to be thinking through ongoing financial issues. We're going to have more financial issues as a result of the property tax bill that came through this session. We're going to be going into bargaining, so that should be a backdrop to what you're thinking about as we go into that. As we talk about the housing study results being done, being presented this next week, housing issues in general, I think, are something that we have to talk about. Where does the city fit into that and economic development as a whole? The street program, where is that headed over the next few years, and what's realistic to fund out of it? Wastewater treatment program is one I kind of mentioned earlier. I think we need to be thinking through it. I think those are some of the big issues that are hitting at us that need action in the next year, but also with the thought process of where does this go over the next 5 to 10. And we're still waiting word back on Moorfeld's project with the SID Center. Haven't heard anything back. I think in August was when they were supposed to hear back on their original application. And we'll just let you know as we do hear something on that. We haven't heard anything back either on the housing demo funds from the state. So as we get word back on that, we'll let you know. And I think that covers everything on a long meeting.
Yeah, that's all right. It's a good meeting. Lots of good things. Celeste, did you have anything? That brings us to adjournment. Motion and second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Those in favor? Those opposed? We're adjourned.
Yeah. Most places actually don't have they don't have an age thing on their deer hunting program. I think that we're going to find that very few places actually do. They just say if you've gone through the training program. Yep.
What about the?
No. Yeah, yeah. But I will verify that. I hated trying to look while we're sitting here in a meeting because it's not the way to do it.